Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Writers Class. And I know this is going to be one of the shows y'all all like to hear because everyone loves when I interview a literary agent. They just keep coming back and back and back. I often wonder, I'm like, I interview actual CEOs of publishing companies, and y'all like, yeah, but literary agents. I feel like those are the celebrities of the literary world. Anyway, I'm Mona, and I remember to introduce myself. High five to me. Okay, I'm sorry. Professionalism. I'm back again. I'm back to the professionalism. Anyway, I write books. Yeah. I occasionally, this face with that dance has occasionally interesting things to put on a page. Imagine that. Yeah. It's just as interesting as it is silly. Oh yeah, now you're gonna go buy the book. Anyway, here they are. There, and I thought being grown up was easy, and I thought divorce was bad. If only I were me, a memoir in verse, Foreign Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Debt. You can get those books wherever you find audiobooks because those are our 6 audiobooks. I can't count, but I sure can write. And then if you go to www.andithoughtLadies.com, you can see where we have another 11 books, giving us the grand total of 17 books. High five to me for writing 17 books. I feel like I did something worthwhile. And if you don't agree, I'm a narcissist. I don't care. But you're here to hear about me, which is something a narcissist never says. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Andy Ross, and I'm a literary agent. I live in Oakland, California. I've been an agent now for about 14 years. And before that, I owned a bookstore at Cody's Books, which was on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. It was sort of a famous bookstore. And I got into the book business in 1972. So at one point, I was 26 or something. I was a young Turk. Now I'm an old turkey. And I've loved being in the book business, and I really love being an agent because it's the other end of the book business from being a bookseller. But I get to work with very creative people, and I do more than just kind of negotiate contracts. I get involved in the creative process. I do a lot of editing, and I meet very interesting people and surprisingly interesting people. I thought when I got started, I would be dealing with people in Berkeley, which is where I lived for 30 years, but I have clients all over the world. And some of them I've never met in real time, but it's just really exciting. It's fun.
Oh, I love how you said you thought you were going to be dealing with people in Berkeley. And it's the first time ever I thought, that's a great place to go if you're going to be.
I was there for 30 years, so I'm a little jaded with Berkeley, but that's okay.
Okay, what about Brown? No, I'm joking. It's another great place to be a writer. But no, actual questions for you. Like, I'm going to try to put my professional ribbon on. There we go.
Okay, go ahead. That's all right.
Everyone wants to know, first and foremost, so let's get this out of the way. What does a literary agent look for in a query letter and a manuscript? I know you've never heard that question before. First time anyone's ever asked that, right?
I go everywhere to writers' conferences, and I give classes in writing query letters and book proposals. And actually, I have written a book on how to write a book proposal. I think it's the best book out on the subject, but you can decide for yourself. What do I want in a query letter? The first thing is it shouldn't be that long. I usually want it half a page or less, for the simple reason that agents are busy and they get 10 to 20 to 50 query letters a day, and they don't have time. So you have to begin a query letter. A query letter has 3 parts. The first part is just the facts. What's the genre? What's the title? How many words is it? Okay. Then the second part of the query letter is to try to articulate, this is the hardest part, what is the high concept of your book? And hopefully it has a high concept. That's a term that comes out of Hollywood, which means you can kind of describe what the book is in a sentence. Like I have one of my clients wrote a memoir of being a successful paparazzi. Okay, that's the concept. You know exactly what the book is about. There are a lot of books, which are really fine books, that don't have a high concept. Like if you've read, for instance, The Glass Castle or The Liar's Club, or, one of these sort of literary memoirs, they don't really have a high concept, but they were fabulously successful. So a high concept doesn't make a book a better book, but it does make it easier to sell. So you would try to articulate your concept. Sometimes you want to give some equivalents, like such and such meets such and such. You don't have to do that. And then the third part is just a paragraph about yourself, who you are, and hopefully whether you have a platform or not. Platform, it's very annoying. That's a very annoying term, platform. I tell people it's either you have an endowed chair at Harvard or you're sleeping with Oprah's hairdresser, preferably both. So you have authority to write about your subject and access to promote it.
I love
that's a query letter.
I'm gonna have to find out who Oprah's hairdresser is now.
That's my throwaway line.
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do the Harvard thing, so I'm just push that to the side. But yeah. Okay. So my next question is mostly about you. And how did you get started as a well, no, you said you're a bookseller.
I was a bookseller, and my store closed because their buying habits changed. They all started buying online. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. I'd been a bookseller all my life and all my adult life. And I thought perhaps I'd be sacking groceries at Safeway, since I had no expertise in anything else. But I decided that I would do the next best thing to sacking groceries, and that was become a literary agent. And, I was sort of I woke up one night and said, maybe I'll be a literary agent. I didn't do my due diligence, but that's what I did. And I've been lucky. It's been great.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just love that. Now, I wanted to know, what kind of mindset do you have to go from selling books to being a literary agent, or does those two skill sets actually cooperate with each other to make you a better literary agent?
Well, I mean, it's very different because we're at the either end of the book food chain, right? I work when a book gets started and a retailer tries to sell it after it's been complete. But I do know the territory, which has been very helpful. I know who the publishers are. I know what kind of books they publish. I know the different genres of books and how popular they are, because I sorted them and put them on bookshelves and saw how they were selling. So it was useful. What I didn't know were how to negotiate contracts, and I didn't know how to edit books. I didn't know how to do book proposals. I didn't know how to write a query letter. So I had to learn all that stuff.
Oh. Okay, so let me understand this. You're a lot like us, because we have to learn all of this stuff when we get started.
I'm a lot like everybody, you have to fake it for about a year, and then you get imposter syndrome, but after a while, you know about it. So I've become an expert.
Okay, odd question. Just letting you know before I even ask it. So what do you think is a part of the literary agent's job that most people would be like, huh? Literary agents do that too?
Well, most people think that I ask people when I give classes on, how to work with a literary agent, and I ask people why they want to work with one. And most of them will say, well, we have to, because publishers won't accept books that aren't agented. Large publishers won't. I remember the legendary publisher Alfred Knopf many years ago said, agents are to a publisher as a knife is to a throat. But that's changed. And publishers expect us to be the gatekeepers. And one of the things, I always thought that we sort of, be kind of middlemen, that we'd match things up and then negotiate contracts. But it's a lot more than that. Some of my most successful books were, people would come to me with a really bad idea or with two ideas, and I'd say, no, but you do have a good idea over here. And that happens a lot. So, and that's fun. And I do editing, which I wasn't expecting as well. So I'm very much involved in the creative process. And you know, I mean, one of the things you have to do before you submit a book is write a book proposal. You don't have to do that with fiction. You have to do it with nonfiction. And what's a book proposal? It's a business plan. And most people don't know how to write them, at least until they read my book. Then they know all they need to know. But it's an ordeal for most authors to write these book proposals. But I have found that it's a really important part of the process. And when they write the proposal, they have to think about structure, who the audience is, how they're going to promote the book. And it really helps them develop the idea of their book. I mean, sometimes the book completely changes as a result of having to write a book proposal. So I feel pretty good about that.
Wow. And I love that the fact that you said one of the great places to go to learn how to do this book proposal correctly is a book proposal written by Andy Ross.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to be real clear. Everyone knows where to go now.
Well, I make a quarter on each book, so that's good. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we've discussed quite a bit, and I wanted to know, again, this is the throwaway question, and then I swear we'll be done after this, I swear. Is what I wanted to know was, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would give any author out there who is looking right now to be like, oh, I'm ready to go ahead and start looking at literary agents or publishers?
Well, one thing is make sure your book is perfect. By the way, it's very different for fiction than nonfiction. For fiction, you have to complete your manuscript and it has to be perfect, because you're in, you know, there is a lot of competition out there, and there's a lot of rejection, and you have to be able to handle rejection. You know, it's like Hollywood. If you're an unknown actor, you have to be resilient. And it isn't about you. If you have an agent, it means your book is good enough to get published, but it still doesn't get published because publishers make decisions based on marketing. So it has to be perfect. And if it's nonfiction, you have to have a good book proposal, and you have to know what your concept is. And it's got to be a publisher's, you know, you think a concept is really brilliant and it casts a light on something important, and publishers are going to say, who's the audience for this book? That's their first question. So you've got to be able to think about who's actually going to read it. And then you have to a good book proposal has got to answer the questions the acquisition editor is going to be asking. And the first question is going to be, who's going to read this book?
Love that. I love that you brought in that you have to answer the question of the acquisition editor.
Yeah,
And
that's
publishers.
key. That's part of my job, since most authors don't know that.
And then one of the really important things, I think, that most self-published people like myself, because I'm a poet, know that you need to be like, is it going to make money? Because that's what your publisher is asking. Your publisher is asking the same thing. Is it going to be successful?
It is the same thing. Self-publishing is easy to do, but difficult to succeed at, because you're the publisher. You have to market your own book. And writers, you know, they're writers. They live a solitary life. They're not good at marketing for the most part. They don't understand marketing. But if you're going to publish your own book, it's your job.
Exactly. I want to thank you so much. Oh, I was about to say, I want to thank you so much and wrap this up. But then I remember that last question that I need to ask. I have to ask. It's a hard time out here for publishing, I hear. So has the literary agent's job taken on any new aspects due to, like, you know, Amazon and self-publishing and that sort of thing? Or are y'all still just rolling like good old times?
Well, it's very hard to get books published. I mean, the book business as a whole is doing well, or it's not doing badly, but a lot of those books are by kind of name brand authors. Like James Patterson is a really successful kind of commercial author. Probably a third of the books in the United States are his. But you know, if you're a debut author, if you haven't been published before, it's tough. It's tough to get an agent, and what an agent finds it tough to get a publisher. I tell people my life is a little like my social life in high school. I get a lot of rejections too, and it's not a lot of fun. And then once you find a publisher, it's difficult for them to find readers because there's so many books out there. So a lot, the conventional wisdom is 3/4 of the books don't make money, and they have to rely on the 1/4 that does. So it's a tough business, and but it's a worthy business.
It's an enjoyable business. I'm not even
It-
gonna lie. The
yeah,
written word
it's
is
fun.
so satisfying.
It is fun, right?
All right, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell people where to find your book?
My book is the easiest place to find my book is online at Amazon. I have an ebook and a print on paper book as well. So,
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up then. Hey, I
okay.
think I asked all the questions. I'm questioned out.
Thank you for having me here.
Right. I'm well known on one of the Anti-Thought Ladies. You can find out everything that your ladies are up to at www.andithoughladies.com. And while you're there, go down to the middle of the page, not the bottom of the page, but the middle of the page, and see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that you take a moment out and support them as well. That does not mean you have to give money. Sometimes they need willing hands to do the work, and sometimes they just need knowledge. So you can do those as well, but we thank you in advance for that. And remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.